Hi guys, I hope you're well. If you don't know who I am, my name is Thomas Blakemore and I'm a teacher here in Dubai. This video is going to be a slightly different video to what I've been creating recently. This video is going to be a storytelling type of video and I want to tell you how I got my job in Dubai. Now, around this time every single year it starts to become peak time for applications for getting a job here in Dubai, UAE, or a range of different international jobs. Now, I'll give you some context. I've just been given a letter of intent and that is for me to sort of sign off and say whether I'm going to keep my job for next year, and from there then other schools will then look at those letters of intent and decide what other jobs need to be introduced and advertised so that they can start the recruitment process. So late October all the way through to April becomes the peak for finding and getting a job here in Dubai. So what I thought I'd do is talk about my own process of how I got a job here in Dubai. I actually went for 3 and I want to talk to you about the process of each different application that I went through. Now, if you're a bit like what I was 3 years ago and you're looking for information on how to get a job here in Dubai, I'm excited to announce that I am writing a guide. That guide is hopefully going to be available within the next month or so, and that's going to be really useful for you to gain a range of different tips and ideas. I've culminated my process and thoughts about what other teachers have gone through here in Dubai. It's been a really long, difficult process to try and culminate a range of different ideas and research and all those different things, but hopefully that will be useful for many different people out there. Now, later details will be announced within this channel, so make sure you are subscribed, hit the notification bell so you're alerted when I post that video. Also, if I have by then released that guide, I will have it linked in the description and the comments of this video too. So feel free to check that one out. So to give you context, I applied for 3 different jobs. Now the first one didn't go so well and I'll talk about that one, and then my other 2 did go well. So to start off with, let's talk about that first job. Now I was in my NQT year and I'd started my NQT year back in the UK, and it was more of a, I wonder what it's like teaching in Dubai. So I started to research different jobs and came across a school that I liked the look of. I started doing bits of research because back then Instagram marketing wasn't really a thing, so there wasn't lots of pictures and things like that on social media. So I went through onto the internet and just looked at the school website and was absolutely blown away by the facilities. Now, when I looked at the application, it did say that you needed 2 years of experience, which obviously as an NQT I didn't have, but me being arrogant decided, nah, I'll be fine, and I applied for the job anyway. So I typed out this long application and I made sure that my CV was ready, which helped me for the next year, and we'll talk about that. And then I typed out this application and sent it off. Now, I was really blown away by the accommodation facilities that this school that I applied for initially had, and didn't hear anything back. So didn't hear anything back. There was no notification of why I didn't receive the job. There was nothing in those ways. So I just heard nothing back. Now, on reflection, there was a range of different reasons I didn't get that job. The first and foremost was I didn't have enough experience. I think a lot of people ask me nowadays, can NQTs get jobs over in the UAE/Dubai? Yes, they can in very specific schools. My guide goes over that as well. So on reflection, I wasn't applying to the right school, and they did stipulate that you need a certain amount of experience, and some schools over here do stipulate that. My school that I'm at the moment requires 2 to 3 years. However, some schools don't, and they will accept NQTs too. So I've sort of gone off on a tangent there, but I know that it's a big question that people do ask. So then let's talk about the more successful applications. Now, rolling on a year, I was in a very similar position, and I knew I was ready to move to Dubai. Now, that for me was one of the biggest differentiators of my mindset, because I knew that I was ready. I'd already looked at all the different pros and cons. I knew that I had no ties in the UK. I knew what the different advantages of living in the UAE was. And again, something that I go over in my guide is pros and cons of teaching here in Dubai. You need to make sure that the pros outweigh the cons for you and that it's the right move for you. And for me then, I knew that it was the right move. I had been on holiday around February time, so I knew what it was like in Dubai and I was really excited. Now, I had a discussion with someone who worked here in Dubai, and they said one of the big mistakes that people make when they go for the application process here in Dubai is not dedicating their whole focus towards it. Now, I was in my RQT year, and in some ways my RQT year was more difficult to my NQT year because of SATs and moving up to year 6. Anyway, that could be a whole other video, but I realized for at least 3 weeks, I needed to really focus in on this application process, making sure that my CV was polished up, making sure that it looked professional, because having looked through my CV and application from before, I found that there was some little errors, and I thought, this is why, another reason you've slipped up there in that previous attempt to get that job. So I looked through and I really made sure that I was dedicated to the application process, researching schools, researching how I was going to be suitable for that school, researching how I could benefit that school, making sure that the school was right for me at the same time. Now, I had previously visited a school, and I'm not ashamed to say that I actually knew someone in one of the schools that I applied for, the one that I'm at the moment. Now, I actually put a poll up on Instagram, I believe it is. If you're not following me on Instagram, I do put polls and things like that up regularly, so make sure you follow me on that, and I'll post information about working in Dubai too on there. Within that poll, I asked whether people received jobs because they knew people out here, and there was a few people who did actually say yes, they got a job because they knew someone out here. Knowing someone out here can actually really help in the process of getting a job, but it is not the be all and end all of finding a job. I know way more people who don't know someone over here initially who get a job than people who knew someone. So I actually received 2 job offers. My first job offer, I didn't actually know anyone, and the second job offer, I did know someone, and that probably helped in that process. So job number 2 that I applied for, I liked the look of the school. The facilities at the school were absolutely incredible. Like, they actually blew me away, and that was something that I was able to play on in my application because I could talk about some of the qualifications that I have with swimming and my sports and things like that. I could also talk about my music things, and basically I was able to play on my strengths within the application, and I believe that helped me, especially with the application process, applying for, I think it was year 5 or year 6 job, and that went really well. I sent the application off, and I had to type up a CV to start off with, make sure that was all tailored. I also had a letter, a cover letter, and a specific application as well. So that cover letter was slightly longer, and they had a application form, and then obviously my CV sort of mirrored what I put on that application form. There were some very specific questions within that application form that I needed to answer, and I tried to avoid copying my cover letter, and that's where I went into a bit more depth. From there then I received an interview offer, but that interview was quite interestingly a phone interview. So I remember getting up at, I think it was like 4:30 a.m. to get onto the phone for 5:30 or something like that. But I made sure that I was really prepared, had things in front of me, because obviously it wasn't a Skype interview, so I could have things out in front of me for sort of notes, for helping me with the interview, and it did help having those things available. And obviously I had the interview. I was really weird, even though it was a telephone interview, I still wore a shirt and tie. It helped because I was going into school anyway, but dress smart, think smart, maybe. Anyway, so I had that interview and it went really well, and then I received a job offer. Now, with that job offer, I received a contract that I was able to flick through and start getting really, really excited about. But I had also applied for the other job where I knew someone. And as I was looking through that, I started to realize, right, I actually need to focus. Even though I've got this job offer, I need to focus on this other interview now. And the interviews that I had were sort of 3 days apart from each other. Now, when I had that interview, that one was through Skype. I would always say, check out the video that I've put up here for making sure you're set up for online interviews and things like that, because I kind of was, kind of wasn't. I hadn't tested Skype beforehand, which was one big mistake, and whether it was VPNs or something along those lines, I'm not really sure, but the Skype call on my laptop did not work. I could see them, but I couldn't hear them. So what I ended up doing was panicking. I thought, no, that's it, I've ruined my chance of getting a job here. I then got my phone out and ended up having the Skype interview through my phone and some earbuds. So that in the end went well, and there was a range of different questions. Again, I'm going to share a range of different questions in the guide, but a range of different questions that I received, and I was able to answer them and talk again about some of the things that I would be able to do within the school. From there then, after the interview and the Skype interview went really, really well, obviously I was wearing a shirt and tie and things like that, I then received a job offer, and then I had 2. And that was really, really exciting, but obviously very nerve-wracking at the same time, because I had a time delay for one, and then I had this other one that I wanted to review at the same time. So I was sort of like, right, let's look at both. One had housing provided, which I was very attracted to, and the other did not. So I was a bit like, right, what's the process of that? But obviously knowing someone out here was very useful in that process, because I could then talk to them about what the process of setting up housing was. And in the end, obviously I went for the school that didn't have the housing, hence why I'm in this apartment, which is slightly different to one of the ones that I would have been given through the other school. And I would always say, make sure you review the contracts. Absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt. Some people will not do that, and they'll go, yeah, I've got a job offer for in Dubai. Yeah, I'll take that. but then realize that their contract doesn't quite match what they should be getting paid, or that their housing allowance isn't quite strong, make sure you always review the contract. Make sure you review the medical insurance and what it covers if you've got family and things like that. Again, these are all things that I share in my guide, but I need to share them now too because it is really, really important. That is my #1 tip for when you receive job offers, is review the contract. And so then I had these 2 job offers. I was really excited by the other one. The process then of me moving to Dubai is one I'll talk about in another video, but it was really, really exciting. Really exciting. I knew that I'd have a lot of paperwork, but then I could focus back onto my teaching. That tunnel vision on getting a job in Dubai really did support me. There's a range of different ways that you can get a job. I did apply through tests for both of the jobs, and I should have shared earlier in the video, but there's so many different other ways of finding a job and applying for a job here in Dubai. It's not just test. So hopefully you found this video somewhat useful in the way that I've shared things, and understanding that it's normal to not always receive a job offer. Make sure that you do your research, and then hopefully that recruitment process will be a little bit easier. Again, my guide is going to be coming out in a few weeks or so, or if it's already out, I'll link it down in the description too. Hopefully you found the video interesting. If there are other topics that you want me to cover, make sure you comment them down below. I definitely want to try and talk more about teaching in Dubai in the future. Hopefully I will see you in the next one, guys. Until then, like the video and I'm out.